Thank you very much indeed. So it's not just the price of car insurance causing sleepless nights. Snoring affects nearly half of adults, and in some cases it could be a sign of something more serious.
1 in 10 snorers actually have a condition called sleep apnea, where the airways become blocked, and if left untreated, it can cause severe medical complications. Presenter OJ Borg has been to find out how it's impacting the lives of sufferers and what can be done to treat it.
The nation's nighttime routine has a soundtrack and a rhythm all of its own.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream.
There is one sound, well, that's not quite so dreamy. This is the point where I have to admit I, Oliver James Borg Anastasi, am a snorer. Never used to be, I don't think, and then I started doing late night Radio 2 shows, at which point my sleep became disrupted and my wife started being kept awake by certain noises. At first she blamed the dog for snoring, but no, it wasn't Lebowski, it was me. But for an estimated 1.5 million people in the UK, snoring can be a symptom of a more serious condition, obstructive sleep apnea. So the difference between sleep apnea and snoring, well, snoring is where your airway becomes restricted and hence you snore. Sleep apnea is where the airway becomes blocked. This is massively disruptive to your sleep pattern, leaving you tired in the day, and 85% of people, they don't even know that they have it. And that's because telling the difference between snoring and sleep apnea can be really difficult, meaning huge numbers of people remain undiagnosed and untreated. And sleep disorder experts like Dr. Sadiq Palalkal want that to change, because sleep apnea is a thing to be taken really seriously. In fact, it stops you breathing. I mean, that sounds quite scary, you actually stopping breathing.
Once they stop breathing, the brain will wake you up. So it's not kind of, that if you stop breathing, not breathing again, going to die. No, that's not going to happen. But the danger is if this keep happening again and again and again over a period of time, it can have the other effect on the body, like increased chance of having stroke, heart problems and diabetes.
This is the sound of someone with sleep apnea trying to sleep. And that interruption of breathing, well, it happens a lot.
It can happen hundreds of times. In someone with a severe sleep apnea, it could be 400, 500 times, but the person may not know that it's happening.
And those micro moments of disturbed sleep can have a huge impact.
They continue to feel tired throughout the day, affecting their work, their concentration, and even they become very irritable and moody, even to the extent causing relationship issues.
People like Dr. Palalkal want potential sufferers to come forward and speak to their GP. Patient Nadif Barghouti is someone who did just that. But in order to see if he did have sleep apnea, a few weeks ago Nadif had his sleep recorded and then analysed. And he already knows his snoring is pretty loud.
I snore very heavily, like a jackhammer.
And the results of the sleep test are in.
You have a severe sleep apnea. What it means is you stop breathing almost 60 times every hour. So the whole recording, you had maybe 400 odd times you stop breathing for a few seconds.
Thankfully, there is a simple solution, a CPAP machine. CPAP stands for Continuous Positive Airway Pressure and is incredibly effective at treating the condition with almost guaranteed results. It sends a steady flow of pressurized air into your nose and mouth as you sleep. Now, this keeps your airways open and helps you breathe normally, which is good news for Nadif.
If you sleep a whole night with a mask, you feel remarkably better and you will have a good quality of life.
Good. Nadif's fitting of his brand new CPAP machine seems to be going well.
Breathing in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out.
Fingers crossed Nadif sees an improvement. Ross Willard from Manchester certainly did. He thinks his CPAP machine not only saved his job, but also his life.
If I hadn't ever got a CPAP machine, I think I probably wouldn't be here. I think I'd have had a heart attack or a stroke by now. It'll change your life, it will. It really will.
Ross discovered his condition after falling asleep at the wheel of his bus.
I was driving my bus in the afternoon and I was a bit tired, stopped the bus, let all the passengers off. Well, when I fell asleep, there was another bus in front of me because I'd fallen asleep and not put the handbrake on and got into the back of the other bus. Only maybe 4 feet, but it was enough to break the window and break the other back of the bus window. So it wasn't too much damage, but it was just the shock of being suddenly, well, where am I? And that's when I found out that I had sleep apnea.
And the diagnosis was also a shock.
And the first thing he said was, you have severe apnea. So I stopped breathing for 42 times every hour, every day. So, and that brought it home for me.
Bus driver Ross had his licence suspended, and his new CPAP machine, well, it took some getting used to.
It took me at least 2 to 3 months. I was actually sat watching TV at night for about 2 hours, 3 hours, and that's the only way I got used to it.
But the CPAP machine was key to getting him back to work. It monitors Ross's sleep, producing a report which then helps to show he's okay to get back behind the wheel.
It actually got my job back, the mask, because they then send the report into the DVLA and say, yeah, you're fit to drive, and they give you your licence back and then you can go back to work. It's changed my life, the CPAP machine.
Often, losing weight or giving up smoking or alcohol can help solve sleep apnea, but the CPAP machines are an incredibly effective tool to provide immediate relief. And best of all, with a diagnosis from your GP, they're fully funded by the NHS. But don't be tempted to buy cheap imitations online. Seek medical advice. And although there's a big choice of micro CPAP machines available to buy online, they are not listed as a treatment option for sleep apnea by the NHS and can't offer the same level of effective medical treatment.
I wouldn't advise anybody to go and buy a CPAP from the market. So it is a medical condition which need to be taken seriously.
So the top tip from everyone I've spoken to, well, it seems to be this: don't ignore that snore. If you're waking up extremely tired and you feel like your sleep is being disturbed, there is help out there for you. And take it from me, someone who works on a night shift, sleep is very important. Anyway, good night.
OJ. That was just
owl noise at the end.
Yeah.
Makes me just want to yawn, like, oh.
Just fascinating. And we always get so many questions about sleep. In fact, it seems to be the thing that everybody is talking about. Xand, we will get round to answering some of them, but can you just remind us exactly what sleep apnea is again, please?
Yeah, definitely, because it's the thing that people worry about. In fact, we all need very, very varying levels of sleep. So one of the things about sleep advice is you get told you need 8 hours a night. Some people need 8, some people need much less, some people need more. So you don't have to stick to the numbers. You just need to observe your symptoms, which is part of what sleep apnea is about. So look, I've got a list of kind of daytime and nighttime symptoms here for people. At night, you may not notice this, but your partner might. Irregular breathing, gasping, snorting, choking, snoring noises, waking up a lot, and of course, loud snoring. In the day, it's tiredness, lack of concentration, mood swings, fuzzy-headedness, having a headache when you wake up. The thing that you're really looking for, and you're going to ask your partner about this, is the pattern of snoring. And what you're looking for, as we just heard, is... and then people stop breathing. Not medical emergency, you'll always start breathing again. But as your oxygen levels go down, that's dangerous, and it's massively disruptive to your sleep. So you think you've got 8 hours, but actually you've been woken up every 2 minutes. That's what sleep apnea is. Yeah.
It amazes me just how often, just from that film, how often you actually wake up with sleep apnea.
Absolutely.
And Ross was talking about having problems with driving. In fact, it's been in the news, hasn't it, that the way you drive could actually be linked to sleep apnea. Is this something that you need to tell the DVLA about then?
It is. So if you have excessive sleepiness for any reason, or if you've been diagnosed with obstructive sleep apnea, then you do need to tell the DVLA. As we heard in the film, you can get your licence back. It is incredibly frustrating for people who have conditions, which means their driving licence is taken away. It's a loss of freedom, perhaps a loss of employment, and there are a number of things that do it. So doctors hate it as well, but for the safety of yourself and everyone else on the road, anyone else in your car, you've got to do it.
OK, we've had some questions in. Rob says that he has sleep apnea and uses a CPAP machine, as we were hearing in the film, but struggles with vivid dreams. Is there an alternative to this?
There are alternatives. I have to say, vivid dreams are not a bad thing. They're not a bad sign. They don't do any harm, and they can be entertaining. But I've got here as an example, I mean, as we heard, losing weight, alcohol, cutting down on sleep medication, things like that can make a big difference, stopping smoking. I've got a jaw thruster here. This is one I got online.
So is that like
the idea, as we saw in the film, your neck anatomy sort of gets compressed and closes off, and a jaw thruster that moves that bottom jaw forwards opens up your throat and allows you to breathe a bit more. So that's a potential choice.
So how do you just pop it in your mouth?
I won't put it in because it needs moulding to your teeth,
Right,
and so this one isn't moulded, but it effectively goes in a bit like a mouth guard
Like
if you're a boxer.
Yeah. Steph asks, can sleep apnea be monitored by a smartwatch?
I think that smart devices looking at our sleep and health are going to be an enormous revolution over the next few years. And in fact, on the show tomorrow, we have a tech expert talking about that. At the moment, I would say that they are not quite good enough for use diagnostically. They can increase anxiety because they give you a lot of them give you a sleep score, and then you think, oh, I didn't get my sleep score's not good, I'm not going to have a good day.
That's what happens to me every morning with mine.
Yeah, and it is, nevertheless, the ones that can measure your blood oxygen, your heart rate variability, movement, and things like that can hint towards sleep apnea and should nudge you towards your GP. So have a chat with your partner and listen to what your devices are telling
It's interesting you're saying you get stressed about that, but also
do.
people get so stressed talking about sleep because then they get stressed and then they can't sleep. Julia says, my partner tells me I make popping noises in my sleep, so he bangs the bed to wake me up. Is this sleep apnea?
Julia, it's such a great question. In fact, there are a couple of possibilities. One is that you want to make sure that it is actually you making the noises. There is an unusual phenomenon called exploding head syndrome, where people hear... It's one of the worst names of any medical condition because your head does not explode. So don't panic about that. It is just the sensation as you're falling asleep or as you're asleep, you're hearing exploding noises, bangs, creaks, groans, things like this. So it's worth, you've got a recorder on your phone, just record and make sure it is you making the noise. Noises when you're asleep could be anything from your TMJ joint, your jaw joint, through to grinding teeth, sinus noises, clicking, tongue movements, all these things. So earplugs go a long way to solving some of these problems, but if they seem kind of really dramatic, then it's worth having a chat with your GP for sure.
Peter's written in, he says he had a stroke 2 years ago. Afterwards, his sleep got much worse. He started to take some medicine every night to help it. It contains paracetamol. He asks, is this bad for me?
So it's a great question from Peter. I mean, in general, healthcare professionals would say that medications to help you sleep are not a good direction to go in. Alcohol doesn't help either. It gives you a worse quality sleep. What Peter's doing is on the very mild side of that. It sounds like an over-the-counter, non-addictive, maybe it's got an antihistamine or something like that. Paracetamol is safe in low doses, but at slightly higher doses can be much more dangerous. So if I was Peter, I'd say, sort out your bedroom. Maybe new pillows, duvet, check the blinds, get some earplugs, get a mask, whatever, check the temperatures right, get your environment sorted out and see if you can wean yourself off this. It's not terribly concerning. It'd be better for him not to be having that.
You talk about mattress and pillows, getting that right environment.
I feel like everyone in England's pillow is 20 years old, and when you take off the case, it's all stained with dribble. That's how
Ew. All right,
but it's
not
honest.
Michelle and Gabby. I understand.
No, you're being completely honest. Thank you very much indeed.